Okay, good evening. Welcome, Hampton Bays, to the second phase of Hampton Bays High School's 7th Annual Science Research Symposium. My name is Lars Clemmensen, and I am the very proud principal of the Hampton Bays School District. We're so glad to have you as our guests tonight, and I'm sure that you're all going to leave tonight just a little bit smarter than you are at this very moment. More importantly, I think you're going to leave tonight inspired about the potential of our young researchers and what that means in the world, especially today. As we begin, I want to take a moment on behalf of the Board of Education and the entire school district to wish each of you well. We hope that as you watch tonight's symposium and connect with our students, that you yourself are healthy and staying physically, mentally, and emotionally connected as well. In so many important ways, the Hampton Bays Schools has committed to continuing to move forward daily. Since the first day of our physical school closing on March 16th, I have been and remain remarkably impressed by the resolve of our great community. Teachers have dug in like never before to teach, to connect with kids, and to innovate. Families have adapted on a dime with so much being asked of them at such a difficult time in our world. And now more than ever, we hope that you consider us partners in addressing any needs that you face. But most importantly, I'm wowed by our students. We are wowed by our students. Their creativity, their spirit, their work ethic has allowed the Hampton Bays School District not to just keep going, but to hit the gas and go further, faster during this very unique time. In many cases, they face some disappointments in the last 8 weeks, with some milestones and celebrations deferred, and some traditions like tonight slightly modified. But they've done it with grace and resolve that would even inspire the strongest among us. As I said on April 23rd at our first phase, in times of great challenge, humans naturally seek what's familiar and what's normal to them. It reinforces our sense of security and optimism that this too shall pass, and the challenges and worries that we have today will at some point be in our past. So that's why we've decided to move ahead with tonight's symposium. And while we would of course prefer to be with you at Hampton Bays High School, we'll connect virtually. Forgive any technological glitches or blips as we go through. We'll work through them as we're all learning to live in this new virtual reality. As we begin, I'd like to recognize and acknowledge some special guests who I know are watching this evening. The Board of Education, President Kevin Springer, Vice President Rich Joslin, and trustees Dot Capuano, Ann Colhane, and Liz Scully. Elected officials with us tonight, State Assemblyman Fred Thiel, who represents us in Albany in the New York State Legislature, Suffolk County Legislator Bridget Fleming, who represents us in Hauppauge, and Town Councilman Rick Martell and John Bouvier, who represent and lead our community from Southampton Town Hall. Thank you for being with us. I'd also like to acknowledge the mentors in the field and from around the nation and around the globe who have willingly committed to our student researchers. You're going to hear from 17 students tonight in 1-minute increments as they present their work. You saw 2 weeks ago our 4 seniors. You've seen where our science research program ends. Tonight, you'll see where it begins and every step along the way. So we thank our mentors who, again, are around the world, who are helping our students on this journey. I'd like to acknowledge the university and the high school program once again at the University at Albany and its directors who are watching with us tonight. We value this tremendous partnership and have for the last 7 years. Your commitment to us means a lot to our students, and it has changed the life trajectory of students who have completed this program successfully. The Research in Science program provides students a rigorous and applied science research experience over 4 years. As I've shared before, the science research students begin their journey at the end of 8th grade as they apply their knowledge, talents, and interests to begin finding the right topic and question that fits their passion. Today in the high school research program, there are 21 different curriculum underway. Each student pursues a unique question. There's no textbook, no workbook, no set lesson plan, for the students are working at a different pace on a different curriculum every single day. I offer my thanks to Dr. Stephanie Forsberg for her coordination of this program, to all of the members of the science department from kindergarten through grade 12, and especially I offer those thanks during Teacher Appreciation Week. Our students are ready to introduce you to their research questions. And at a time when the future can feel uncertain, these 17 young people represent the future. Please don't forget that over the next hour. The future might feel scary and uncertain right now, but I know you'll leave tonight feeling more certain, more confident, and more hopeful for what's to come in the days ahead. I promise you that. Thank you for being with us tonight. Enjoy your time at the new virtual Hampton Bays High School. You're always welcome to be with us. Together as a community, we remain HB strong, and we thank you for participating with us tonight. At this point, I'd like to turn over the program to Dr. Stephanie Forsberg.
Thank you, Mr. Clemmensen. Thank you all for joining us. 2 weeks have passed since part 1 of our symposium. We thank our entire district, our school board, and all of you for supporting us. And we hope that this finds you all safe and well. We know that now that our building is closed for meeting in person for this school year, but we continue to lean in and continue forward with our research. Not being able to meet in person does not mean that we stop our learning or stop expanding. I want to talk to you today about heroes. They take many shapes, many forms, and have many jobs. Our nurses, doctors, all medical professionals, food suppliers, delivery workers, the police, ambulance, fire forces, all protecting us. I could go on and on describing our essential forces and our heroes. There is another face of our heroes. These are the scientists and researchers in the hospitals and labs around the world that are collaborating to make our world safe again. Microbiologists, virologists, those are the ones studying viruses, geneticists who are investigating genomes and each base sequence of every DNA molecule in each new strain of this coronavirus. Modifying the messenger RNA may be a new form of vaccination for the 21st century. And while that may not sound like words or terminology that is spoken normally in our homes or at our dinner tables, it will be when these researchers develop the new techniques that will transform our world. What does this mean for me and for our audience here this evening? It means we have to support these research students now more than ever. This generation and the younger researchers in elementary school, in middle school, get ready, get excited. Science and the world needs you. We need you. You're about to hear 17 students from Hampton Bays who reach all levels of the globe with their research, with mentors from Stony Brook University, Stony Brook Medical Center, New York University, Harvard, Brookhaven National Lab, Australia, and more. What this means to me is that the research we started here in Hampton Bays has no limits. We have 6 generations of Hampton Bays science research graduates now. They are now across the country and some close to home. They are graduates now of nursing school, working in the top research labs in the country, and beginning paths and acceptances to medical school and the top graduate programs across the nation. I couldn't be prouder of them. They are our heroes. I have one more group to describe to you. This is a team of 8, the 8th graders, about to start their Hampton Bays research journey in September. Emily, Dylan, Emma, Samantha, Cassidy, Minal, Emily, and Maya. If you know these Hampton Bays students or have a young Bayman in your home tonight, start the conversation, start the Google search, find the next topic to investigate. We wait to support you in your journey. Sit back, relax, get ready to be amazed, and most importantly, remember these 17 are part of a bigger group of heroes. Our scientists and our hope to improve on the issues and problems that plague our planet. So for tonight's forum, please comment in the comment thread below this live feed if you have a specific question for any of these students. At the end of the 17 mini presentations, we will take live questions from you. Make sure to type which student or topic is your question for tonight. And don't worry if we don't get to all of your questions in the live feed. Our students will be visiting the comment thread to speak to you further as we finish airing live so that this discussion can continue. Thank you and welcome to our 7th annual Science Research Symposium, Part 2. Now I will begin by showing you our posters. And as each poster is presented, you will hear from each of the students and they will give a brief synopsis of what they've been researching. Without further ado, we'll share this, make sure our technology is caught up with us. And I'd like to begin. Our first presentation this evening is by a freshman, Elijah Amos. Eli has read a peer-reviewed article entitled "Simulated Space Radiation Sensitizes Bone, but not Muscle to the Catabolic Effects of Mechanical Unloading." And I'd like to note that as we go through our freshman presentations that we're beginning with tonight, our freshmen do not have mentors yet in this program. So they're just beginning their bibliographic research. As we advance into the 10th and 11th graders, if they have a mentorship established, they will explain that to you. So these are peer-reviewed papers. So again, we're going to begin with Elijah Amos. And Eli, if you can hear me, please take it over.
Hello, my name is Elijah Amos, and my poster is on the duo of how space radiation and mechanical loading can negatively affect astronauts as they further deeper into space. Mechanical unloading is pretty much if you're, say, picking up a box or simply going a walk. It's the energy that you perform and the type of weight that you put on your muscles. So what the scientists at the Department of Orthopedics at Penn State College did was they gathered 6 groups of mice and put half of them under hind leg suspension treatment, which I'll now refer to as HLS. And within those subgroups, they blasted them with appropriate levels of radiation that will normally be found in outer space. Over to the results, you may see that mostly there was a decrease or little to no change within the bone, but when there was a decrease, there was a stark decrease. Now, for future studies, scientists could possibly figure out ways to mitigate mechanical unloading by, say, more vigorous exercises to prevent wasting away of the bones, or on the radiation front, thicker and more durable spacecraft shields to prevent or completely cancel out radiation as a whole.
Fantastic. Thank you, Eli. Moving on to our next presentation is by Zoe Angledrum. Zoe read a peer-reviewed article entitled "Affect Incongruency in Emotional Responses to Music." Go ahead, Zoe.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Zoe Angledrum, and I'm studying how music affects mood. Music can be very beneficial in helping to cope with your emotions. However, sometimes it can make you feel worse. In this study, Dr. Friedman and his colleagues wanted to test the theory that people in sad states would want to listen to sad music instead of happy music, and to see if those individuals who listened to sad music felt worse or better than those who listened to happy music. In conclusion, the results showed that individuals in sad affective states would be more inclined to listen to sad music and were reluctant to listen to happy music, and that individuals who listened to happy music felt substantially better than those who listened to sad music, proving the theory that happy music is better at uplifting the mood than sad music is, and supporting the theory that sad music can have many effects on your emotions.
Thank you, Zoe. Moving on to our next presentation is by William Mandel. William has been reading an article entitled "Discovery of Haemophilus longicornis," also known as the Asian longhorn tick, parasitizing a sheep in New Jersey, United States. Go ahead, Will.
My name is William Mandel. My poster is about a sheep in Hunterdon County, New Jersey, that was found infested with the Asian longhorn tick. The Asian longhorn tick is located in Eastern Asia and is also known as an invasive species in Australia, New Zealand, and certain Pacific islands. This is why some people are afraid that the tick is going to spread as an invasive species to America. The Asian longhorn tick is also known to parasite humans and can survive in temperatures of -5 degrees Celsius. The main effect of the Asian longhorn tick is that it can cause weakness and even death in certain types of cattle.
Thank you, Will. Our next poster presentation is by Caitlin Pinocchio. Caitlin has read endosomal toll-like receptors in clinically overt and silent autoimmunity. Caitlin, if you can hear me, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. The article that I read was about an autoimmune disease, systemic lupus erythematosus, also known as lupus. This disease has chronic inflammation around the heart and kidneys, as well as other organs, but primarily the heart and kidneys. People with this disease also endure joint and muscle pain, as well as periodical flare-ups. In this study, they tested asymptomatic mothers on an antibody called anti-RO60. The researchers had high hopes of positive therapeutic intervention through a medicine called hydroxychloroquine. This is very important to my future research because it's used to treat arthritis, lupus, malaria, and is currently in the testing phases for the coronavirus. By the conclusion of this study, they had very positive results. The antibodies responded very positively, as well as the toll-like receptors. Toll-like receptors are defense receptors, also targeted in the study. In the article, there is a common theme of histology and histopathology, which is the study of diseased tissue. And through this year's research, I formulated the question how bacterial infections or viruses manifest into chronic autoimmune disease. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Our next presentation is by Sophia Solano. Sophia has been reading on adverse health effects of 5G mobile networking technology under real-life conditions. Go ahead, Sophia.
Thank you. So, wireless radiation, which is emitted by all types of electronics, is harmful to human health, causing cancers, metabolic disturbances, mood and sleep disorders, and many other health issues. Many laboratory studies conducted to test its safety do not correctly identify its adverse health effects because of the exclusion of real-life stimuli in their studies. For example, chemicals, biotoxins, and signals of varying frequencies all augment its harmful effects, but these components are often omitted in laboratory studies. Furthermore, these experiments are usually conducted on mice, who are so physiologically different from humans that extrapolating their results to humans often leads to errors in data. The effects of wireless radiation on the human body are caused by perturbations in the electron and proton transfers, which support ATP production in the mitochondria, and some individuals are more sensitive to its effects due to their unique genetic predispositions.
Thank you, Sophia. We are now moving into our 10th grade presentations, and our 10th graders have had 2 full years now of research, and this next presentation is by Aaliyah Su Chi. Aaliyah has been studying the detection of West Nile virus in New York, and her mentor is Dr. Scott Campbell from the Suffolk County Department of Health Services. Go ahead, Aaliyah.
Hello, my name is Aaliyah Su Chi, and today I'll be presenting my research on West Nile virus. First, I would like to thank Dr. Scott Campbell from the Suffolk County Department of Health. West Nile virus is an arbovirus commonly found in mosquitoes and horses, but can also be found in humans and birds. West Nile virus was first discovered in the United States in 1999 in New York City. Since West Nile virus was detected so close to Long Island, this makes Long Island a breeding ground for the virus. West Nile virus is the most common arbovirus in the United States. The virus can either be symptomatic or asymptomatic, but in most cases it is asymptomatic, and this is why most cases do go undetected. But in case it is symptomatic, the symptomatic cases can either lead to neuroinvasive diseases such as meningitis and encephalitis. This August I began emailing Dr. Scott Campbell from the Suffolk County Department of Health, and this December I established a mentorship and went to his lab. If all goes well, in the future, I hope to have a internship at Dr. Campbell's lab. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my research, and I hope you enjoy all the other researchers' presentations.
Thank you, Aaliyah. Our next 10th grade presentation is going to be by Kristina Jorge. Kristina's mentor is Dr. Jamie Wong from the Tisch Multiple Sclerosis Research Center of New York. Kristina has been researching the development of an experimental animal model for primary progressive multiple sclerosis. Go ahead, Kristina.
Thank you. My name is Kristina Jorge, and I will be presenting my research on primary progressive multiple sclerosis. I'd like to start off by thanking my newly established mentor, Dr. Jamie Wong, who works at the Tisch Multiple Sclerosis Research Center in New York City. She has given me numerous articles that have helped me narrow down my research to primary progressive multiple sclerosis, which is a subtype of the disease multiple sclerosis, a chronic autoimmune disease where the body's own immune system cells attack and target nerve cells found in the brain and spinal cord. Primary progressive multiple sclerosis differs from the other subtypes in that it is much more rare. It accounts for about 15% of all multiple sclerosis cases. Furthermore, patients who have primary progressive experience no relapses or remissions in their symptoms, and instead they progressively worsen from onset. Furthermore, primary progressive patients experience more lesions or areas of damage in their spinal cord than in their brain, and they experience less inflammation compared to other subtypes. Due to the large amount of differences in primary progressive compared to other subtypes, an animal model unique to primary progressive multiple sclerosis must be developed in order to correctly study the pathology of primary progressive. This can be done by injecting cerebrospinal fluid from a patient with primary progressive multiple sclerosis into a mouse. Once this is done, the mouse will develop symptoms that are characteristic of primary progressive multiple sclerosis, allowing for researchers to identify therapeutic targets to develop more effective medicines for primary progressive multiple sclerosis. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristina. Our next presentation is going to be by Lily Hebe. Lily has been investigating T-cell immunotherapy as an emerging treatment for cancer, and she has a mentorship established with Dr. Mark Worley from Harvard Medical School. Go ahead, Lily.
Hi, my name is Lily Hebe, and tonight I'll be presenting to you my research on T-cell immunotherapy. I'd first like to acknowledge and thank my mentor, Dr. Mark Worley from Harvard University, who has become an essential part of my research. As many of you may know, there's a wide variety of cancer treatments available, but unfortunately, some of the most predominantly used treatments, such as chemotherapy, can be detrimental to a patient's overall health. This sparked the initiative to try and find a less harmful treatment, which has resulted in the discovery of T-cell immunotherapy. T-cell therapy involves the extraction of white blood cells from a patient's body, which are then genetically modified in a lab to be able to recognize and kill cancer cells, which can be seen in Figure 1 of my poster. A major benefit of this treatment is that, unlike chemo and radiation therapy, a patient's healthy body cells are protected throughout the process. Several studies show a great potential for the future of this research. And finally, I'd like to thank you all for attending tonight, and I'd love to answer any questions you may have later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Lily. Our next presentation is by Ryan Hughes. Ryan's been investigating Coccidinium polycricoides continuous negative impacts on saltwater environments. Go ahead, Ryan.
Hello, my name is Ryan Hughes, and today I'll present my research on Coccidinium polycricoides. When I was younger, my grandfather used to say how he caught less fish in the Shinnecock Bay in the months of August through October. When I asked why this was, he said it was because of the rust tide in the bay. Scientifically, rust tide is known as Coccidinium polycricoides. Coccidinium polycricoides is a dinoflagellate, which is considered algae. While it is not toxic to humans, it is extremely toxic to smaller, specifically juvenile, fish and shellfish. Coccidinium flourishes when there is high temperature and high nitrogen in the water. Locations of blooms include bodies of water in the Middle East, Latin America, East Asia, and our own town, as well as the rest of the east coast of the United States. There has been increasing prevalence of Coccidinium recently, although there were no blooms reported in Shinnecock Bay last season. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thanks, Ryan. Our next presentation this evening is by Evan Kufner. Evan has been investigating the effects of nitrogen on the growth rates of cyanobacteria. Go ahead, Evan.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Evan Kufner, and I'm presenting my research on the effects of nitrogen on the growth rates of cyanobacteria. Now, certain cyanobacteria, such as Microcystis, which is a genus of cyanobacteria that lives in fresh water, is what I've been studying. Now, as shown in the studies, as you take Microcystis and infer it into fresh water, it will start to absorb the phosphorus and nitrogen within the water. By doing this, it will kill the life such as fish and all other plant life inside the marine estuary. Now, once they are done killing all the life and sucking up all the nitrogen and phosphorus, it will live longer for about 5 to 6 more days. After that, it will die, leaving a lifeless pond, lake, or other water environment behind. I want to thank Dr. Forsberg and as well as enjoy the rest of this symposium, and I will take any questions after.
Thanks, Evan. Our next presentation is by Sophia Loudermilk. Sophia has a mentor from Columbia University named Dr. Howard Warman, and together, Sophia with Dr. Warman has been investigating Huntington-Gilford progeria syndrome. Go ahead, Sophia.
Hi, my name is Sophia Loudermilk, and I'll be presenting Huntington-Gilford progeria syndrome. So what Huntington-Gilford progeria syndrome is a disorder in lamin A, and it's basically progressive aging, and it's defined by when your chronological age isn't the same as your biological age, which I find significant. So HGPS is, the symptoms of it is like, so adolescents most commonly are found to have skin stiffening after 1 month on their face and limbs. And an example of it is found in figure 3. Also, figure 3 shows lucencies, which means an area on the x-ray that is less dense. And figure 1 shows a depigment patch in an arm and nail dystrophy in the index finger. Both of these figures are significant because they are from a 17-year-old female who has symptoms like HGPS, but not exactly HGPS. She was found to live much longer than the normal age of an HGPS patient. My mentor, Dr. Warman, was able to start a mouse model to symbolize or to show or model what the symptoms she has is. However, so far, all the model was able to show was the weight loss of the female. Another thing about HGPS is that infants are most likely diagnosed at it during 3 months of age and usually live up to the age of 14. They usually die because of heart problems like heart attacks. But there were some cases where they were shown to live more above the age of 14. I'd like to thank my mentor, Dr. Warman, for helping me understand this disease a lot more and for giving me articles that could help me in my research. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. Moving on to our 11th grade presentations for this evening. Our next presenter is David Katina. David has a mentor from the New Jersey Institute of Technology, Dr. Murat Guvendiran, and together they've been researching the formulation of anatomical models with 3D printing. Go ahead, David.
Hi, I'm David Katina, and I'm researching the formulation of anatomical models using 3D printing. I work on this research with my mentor, Dr. Murat Guvendiran from the New Jersey Institute of Technology, as Dr. Forsberg said. There are many printing techniques that have various attributes, such as the ability to print soft and flexible or solid and firm products. The printed models are extremely useful in the hospital setting, in which they provide a highly detailed patient-specific replica. These models could range from an organ to lifelike human skin. I'm very thankful to have Dr. Guvendiran as my mentor. He has helped me along the way with my research so much, and I look forward to continuing to work with him throughout my senior year.
Thanks, Dave. Our next presentation this evening is by Tara Loudermilk. Tara has a mentor, Dr. Pooja Parikh from the Stony Brook University Hospital. Tara has been investigating trends in cardiovascular risk factors. Go ahead, Tara.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Tara Loudermilk, and I research trends in cardiovascular risk factors. My mentor is Dr. Parikh at Stony Brook University, and I would like to give her a big thank you for all of her help. Within cardiology, my focus is risk factors and coronary artery disease. You might be asking yourself, what are risk factors? Risk factors depict a person's likelihood for experiencing a cardiovascular event or a cardiovascular disease. This could be a stroke or a heart attack. I focus specifically on the risk factors, including hypertension, physical activity, and comorbidities such as diabetes type 1 and type 2. Emerging diagnostic tools, as shown in figure 2, can help doctors and caretakers assess whether or not their patient has cardiovascular risk factors or are prone to future events. My future research consists of more bibliographic research, as I've been doing over the past 3 years with my mentor, and possibly this summer we will be analyzing the BRFSS, which is the Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance Survey, and assessing questions such as how does access to medical care influence a patient's cardiovascular health. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see your questions.
Thank you, Tara. Our next presentation is by Shana Pierce. Shayna's mentor, Mrs. Justine Haupt, is from the Brookhaven National Laboratory. Shayna has been investigating with Ms. Haupt's assistance using a 21-centimeter radio telescope to determine how radio frequency interference affects data. Go ahead, Shayna.
Hi, my name is Shana Pierce, and during my sophomore year, I decided to change my topic to radio astronomy, and radio astronomy is slightly different since radio telescopes use radio waves to collect their images instead of compared to an optical telescope that relies on optical light to create their images. Most of my research has been done involving a process called aperture synthesis, which is basically when multiple radio telescopes will look at the same object, create an image, and then those images are combined so that the final one has a better resolution. I found my mentor, Ms. Justine Haupt, works at Brookhaven National Lab, and luckily enough for me, she gave me the opportunity to do an internship there over the summer. So last summer for 6 weeks, I worked at Brookhaven National Lab and was able to work with their radio telescope. I hope to continue my research with Ms. Haupt by possibly doing the internship online this summer since I can't do it in person due to the coronavirus. Thank you.
Thank you, Shayna. Our next presentation is by Dulce Pena. Dulce's mentor is Dr. Sean Clouston from Stony Brook University Hospital, and together they've been investigating components that influence cognitive reserve and dementia. Go ahead, Dulce.
Hi, my name is Dulce Pena, and my research is on cognitive reserve and dementia. I have a mentor. His name is Dr. Sean Clouston, and he's from Stony Brook. He is currently helping me understand the concept of cognitive reserve. Cognitive reserve is the ability to cope with brain damage by using pre-existing cognitive processes. It has proved to either delay the onset of dementia or reduce one's risk of getting it. When dementia starts affecting the physical aspect of the brain, a brain with high cognitive reserve will create an alternate route to help the brain cope. When this happens, the individual may experience what's known as Alzheimer's without dementia. This is when the brain is deteriorating, but the individual themselves do not present any symptoms. When and if the brain can no longer cope with the damage, then the individual will experience a faster rate of decline. This is why I decided to look into the different components that affect cognitive reserve. Through research, it has been proven that more years of education and having an active social life will help with cognitive reserve. Overall, it is very important to keep the brain active, especially later in life. Thank you.
Thank you, Dulce. Our next presentation is by Katarina Reich. Katarina's mentor is Dr. Natalia Stupak from New York University. Katarina has been investigating cochlear implants and adolescents. Go ahead, Katarina.
Hello, my name is Katarina Reich, and as you can see, my topic is on cochlear implants in adolescents. If you are unfamiliar, cochlear implants are small electronic devices that electrically stimulate the cochlear nerve in your ear. They are similar to hearing aids. However, cochlear implants are only used in patients with severe to profound hearing loss. My mentor is Dr. Natalia Stupak from New York University. My research through the middle of my sophomore year was surrounding how music is perceived through cochlear implants. Lately, I've been focusing on differing ages regarding cochlear implants, and recent research supports the theory that children have better sound and speech perception than adults. One of the reasons I love the change of my direction in my topic of audiology is my cousin Sienna. When I met her in August, I learned she has 2 titanium cochleas and wears cochlear implants on a daily basis. Her hearing is nearly perfect with her cochlear implants, yet nearly non-existent without. In the future, I'd love to look into the question of, does the age you receive cochlear implants strongly change how effective they are? And at a certain age, is your hearing irreparable?
Thank you, Katarina. Our final poster presentation before we move into the live question and answer session is by Scully. Sarah's mentor is Dr. Kristen Gainey from the University of Western Australia. She was previously at the University of Buffalo. And Sarla is investigating comorbidity among mental and developmental disorders with a personality factor. Go ahead, Sarla.
Hi, my name is Sarla Scully, and I am researching the relationships between mental disorders, developmental disorders, and personality. Personality can be broken into 5 main parts, which are called the Big Five, and these influence and predict mental disorders. Mental disorders are highly comorbid, which means that it is likely for people to have 2 or more disorders present at the same time. Developmental disorders are also highly comorbid. In certain cases, there is comorbidity between mental disorders and developmental disorders. However, this is less likely than each type of disorder separately. The next step in my research is working to analyze a set of pre-recorded data, which has been recorded by my mentor, Dr. Gainey, who works at the University of Western Australia. This data set is about the associations of the Big Five with symptoms of anxiety and depression. I'm really looking forward to continuing this work and further developing my research. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sarla. We're now going to be moving on to Mr. Rashard.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you to Dr. Forsberg. My name is Chris Richard, and I am the very proud principal of Hampton-Bays High School. And as you can see, we have much to be proud of. Our research scientists have begun an important journey focused on discovery and learning at the collegiate level, and in some cases, the graduate level. I would like to thank Dr. Forsberg for encouraging her students to explore research topics based on their interests and passions. This program has brought our students to hospitals, labs, and professional offices all over the nation in pursuit of field data and connections with our cherished professional mentors. This is learning at its best and at the highest level available to high school students anywhere. I am grateful for our superintendent of schools, Mr. Clemmensen, our district leadership team, the Board of Education, and the Hampton-Bays community for the support needed to make research and science at Hampton-Bays High School possible. But before we move on to questions from our viewers, I would like to thank our 17 research scientists. I want every one of you to know that you inspire us all with your dedication to learning, professionalism, and determination to make sure that the show goes on at Hampton-Bays High School. Thank you, and have a great night.
Thank you, Mr. Rashard. We are now going to move on to our question and answer period for our students. And we're going to begin with a question from our audience for Elijah. Elijah, you mentioned that the scientists that you read about, that they found radiation affected the trabecular bone in mice. Where is a trabecular bone?
Trabecular bone is not one single bone, but rather it is the ends of long bones, such as the femur or the rib cage. For this reason, it is called the cancellous bone.
Thank you.
We have a question for Zoe Angledrum from an alumna of the science research program, soon to be Dr. Alexandra Peterson. She says, "Very good job, everyone. For Zoe, how were the songs defined as sad or happy? Was it the tempo or key?"
That's a great question. So what they did was they showed a group of individuals a sad documentary to put them in a sad state, and then they asked them to choose a favorite happy or sad song. So it was the patient's own choice, and then that affected what their mood was. I don't know for certain, but usually if it's a slower melody or tempo, that can make you feel sadder sometimes. If it's more upbeat, that can get you feeling more excited.
Very good, Zoe. Thank you.
Our next question goes to William. How many species of ticks do we have in North America, and specifically on Long Island?
In New York, there are 3 main species of tick. One of the species is the lone star, the second is the dog tick, and the third is the deer tick.
Great, thank you.
Our next question is for Caitlin. Caitlin, how does your topic link to COVID-19?
So right now there's a medicine called hydroxychloroquine that's in the testing phases for the coronavirus, and there isn't that much definite medical data to support my answer, but I do know that it is being used and tested, and yeah, it has some positive results for some people.
Very good. Very timely. Thank you, Caitlin.
Sophia Solano, we have a question about your peer-reviewed paper that you read. You mentioned 5G radiation. We're all dependent on technology right now, more than ever. Is that 5G the same type that our cell phones are using?
That's a great question. So, fifth generation technology, otherwise known as 5G, is the newest implementation in technologies all over the world. It uses higher energy radiation to transmit larger amounts of data in shorter amounts of time. This higher energy radiation is worrisome, as it can cause more severe effects on the human body than previous generations of technology, such as 4G or 3G.
Thank you. That makes sense.
Great job, freshmen. Sophomores, we're looking at you now. There is a question for Aaliyah. Is the West Nile virus present here on the east end of Long Island?
Yes. So since West Nile virus was founded so closely to Long Island, there are many cases of West Nile virus online, and West Nile virus is, Long Island is one of the biggest holders of West Nile virus cases in the United States.
Very good. Thank you, Aaliyah.
Kristina, we have a question for you. Could you tell us a little bit more about your experience when you were able to visit the Tisch Multiple Sclerosis Research Center in Manhattan? Hold on one second, Kristina. Kristina, could you start again? We had a little technical glitch there.
Yes, so sorry about that. So I actually first met Dr. Wong at a symposium hosted by the Tisch Multiple Sclerosis Research Center. And since then, that was in October 2019. And since then, I have met with Dr. Wong at the research center privately, and we had a great discussion about my future in the field of multiple sclerosis.
Great, thank you.
Hello, Lily Hebe. Can you please tell us how you chose to investigate cancer treatments?
So unfortunately, cancer is something that affects a lot of people. So immediately I knew I wanted, going into the science research program, I wanted my research to have an impact on as many people as possible. And cancer and genetics was always something that I was interested in. So I decided that when I started my bibliographic research my freshman year, that treatments was the best outlet for me to put my effort in to see an impact.
Very good, Lily. Thank you.
Ryan, this next question comes to you from our own Hampton Bays High School, Mrs. McCauley. Ryan, is rust tide harmful to mammals other than to humans?
That is a very good question. Rust tide is, rust tide is, rust.
Is it harmful to mammals?
Yes, it is harmful to smaller mammals, but if it is larger, it is not.
Yes, and that's a very important thing to be investigating since it's so prevalent in our local waters. Thanks, Ryan.
Evan Kufner, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
There you are. The question for you is, are blue-green algae blooms something we have to worry about here on Long Island?
Yes, blue-green algae blooms such as microcystis is something we have to worry about here, as it predominantly is more in like freshwater basins like Agawam or Lake Ronkonkoma. They usually bloom more during the summer months such as June, July, August, where it starts to really get big, and that's something to really worry about.
Very good. Thank you. Keep our eye on that.
Sophia Loudermilk, our next question is coming to you, and we're wondering, how did you locate your mentor at Columbia who studies this very specific genetic condition?
Well, I was always interested in Columbia University. It was my dream school, so I started looking at papers from there, specifically HGPS, because I started researching that since I was really interested in genetics. I found that Dr. Werman really went into depth with researching HGPS. He had a lot of articles on it, and he also researched other laminopathies, so I decided to contact him.
Thank you. That's great.
Okay, for our juniors, David, Katina, a question comes to you from the West Coast, from a longtime champion of the Hampton Bay Science Research Program and longtime resident here in Hampton Bays, Miss Irene Tully. David, did you watch any prosthetic limb as it was printed? And are they lighter in weight than previously used materials?
Great question. And I have not physically seen a prosthetic limb being printed. I've not had that ability yet. I hope when I work closer with Dr. Guvendiran after the coronavirus madness ends. And to the second part of the question, yes, prosthetic limbs are lighter than previous used prosthetics.
Thanks, Dave.
Tara, our next question is coming to you. You've had so many experiences with cardiovascular research from Peconic Bay Medical Center, as well as with your mentor at Stony Brook University. What's been your best experience so far, and could this possibly lead to a career?
Thank you for the question. I think volunteering at Peconic Bay Medical Center has been extremely beneficial in seeing what I want to do as a career path. I do hope to pursue cardiovascular medicine as a physician in the future, and preferably in the environment of an emergency department, because it's just it's horrible to go into the emergency room, but it's such a beautiful thing to see everyone in the hospital come together, from PCTs to social workers, nurses, and doctors. Thank you.
Thank you. And now more than ever, we know that those workers on all levels of all different medical careers is so crucial. Thanks, Tara.
Well said, Tara. This next question is for you, Shayna, and it comes from Mr. Ed Morales. Is it better to work in the day or night?
With radio telescopes, it actually doesn't matter if you work in the day or night, since it's different from an optical telescope and you're not relying on sunlight to get images. So whenever.
Whenever you can. Very good. Thank you, Shayna.
That was a great question. Dulce, we have a question for you coming from one of our teachers from the middle school, Mr. Neslari. So Dulce, did you encounter any research on CTE, on your cognitive, on CTE with dementia? So both occurring together.
No, I did not come across that. So far, I have only been focusing on cognitive reserve and it's how it's related to Alzheimer's disease and how it can help. But it's definitely something I can look into in the future.
Thank you. That's great. Very important, as so many people do suffer with that. Thanks, Dulce.
Katarina, we have a question from a viewer, Mr. Ivan Galias. Are there things that you are not allowed to do with a cochlear implant? For example, is your cousin not allowed to wear earbuds or go to concerts? Would that interfere with the device?
About the things that you can't do with a cochlear implant, so a lot of cochlear implants are not water resistant. So when I visited my cousin over the summer, we were inside of a pool and she couldn't wear her cochlear implant. So when I was trying to communicate with her, it really wasn't working. So we made it work. And then when she put on her cochlear implants again, she was able to hear. But interference wise, I would say that there would be a problem. I haven't really looked into the interference side of cochlear implants, but there are a lot of things that can hinder your wearing of them.
Thank you, Katarina. So that helps us be aware for when we encounter someone who has a cochlear implant. Thank you.
Sarala, our final question that we're going to take from our audience is for you. And all of our researchers are going to have to go back into this thread because we're getting so many amazing questions and more are coming in every minute. But Sarala, for you, we're wondering today in our current state, mental health is more important than ever. What do you recommend for those who want to improve on their mental health, especially at these times of social distancing?
That is a great question during this time. I think that meditation and mindfulness is very important during this time. There are different apps and websites that can guide you through this or give you tips. Two that I know of are called Headspace and Calm, but I'm sure there are many more and you can find what suits you best. Trying to stay connected with family and friends is really important during this time. And also just trying to maintain a schedule and do things can help some people stay out of like a rut or a spiral that they can fall into. So obviously we can't really go out, but just things like going for walks or runs, doing things around your house, those can all be helpful. But definitely a great thing to do is look into it, because certain things work better for certain people. So you need to find what's best for you.
I think that's amazing advice and such a good note to end on. If we had asked you 3 years ago why you were investigating this, it probably wouldn't be that it was linked to our current isolation due to the COVID-19, but we appreciate your advice on that. That's great. Well, I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Clemmensen. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Forsberg. I can hear it from the west coast of California, throughout Hampton Bays here. Their virtual round of applause. It's a standing ovation for the remarkable work of these 17 young science researchers. I am so awestruck that the work that is being done by each of these students is so relevant, so timely, and so practical. And I don't want to say I told you so, viewers, but I told you so. I told you at the beginning of this symposium an hour ago that you were going to leave smarter, and I told you that you were going to leave more hopeful for the future, and that just as soon as we're on the other side of this public health challenge, it's going to be these young people who bring us to solutions that connect people, that keep people healthy and engaging in all of the things in life that help people reach potential. I'm so proud to be associated with the Hampton-based School District. On behalf of the Board of Education and every single person who works for our community as part of the Hampton-based schools, we look forward to the day that we are all back together again physically, but we know that the only thing that's closed right now are our physical buildings, and we stay connected, and we want you to stay connected to us as well. Visit us on social media every day, every night at 7 o'clock. We have a Bayman bedtime story or 17 Bayman bedtime stories about science research projects. We tag everything we do, and we want you to as well, with the hashtag HBStrong, because that's how we stay connected, that's how we stay healthy, and that's how we stay focused on all the good that's still to come. Thank you for being with us. We're going to share this YouTube link widely, and we encourage you to do the same. Have a great night. Thanks again for your support of the Hampton-based Public Schools.